guys, this is episode 5 of Shit I Feel Strongly About. I am Dr. Meghan Wieser, physio coach at Recharge. We're here with episode 5 to talk to you about rest days. I decided to talk about this today because, well, one, personally, in my own training, I've been finding difficulty figuring out when to take my rest days and just getting caught up in the habit of training. And I want to talk to you about the importance of taking a rest day because there's a lot of misinformation out there about what is a rest day, like what counts as a rest day, and how often you should take them, when to know when you should take them, how many to take, etc. There's just a lot out there, and want to kind of clarify some things because I've gotten some questions from friends of mine who are pretty active. So clarifying that today with you, and I'll give you a couple personal anecdotes from myself as well. Okay, so first and foremost, what is a rest day? A rest day is when you take a break from working out. You do it to literally rest your body. Typically, we recommend anywhere from like 1 to 3 days a week for people to take rest days, depending on what your working days look like, and considering allostatic load and all that jazz too, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But a rest day activities can include yoga, soft tissue stuff, going for a nice walk, sitting down, relaxing, reading, just hanging out, being with loved ones, things that don't require a lot of mental attention or mental stress and a lot of physical attention or physical stress. Quite literally ways to recover your body. Kind of thinking about the idea of like restoration of things and then kind of normalizing homeostasis, that kind of idea, just bringing things back down to a resting level. That's the idea of what a recovery day or rest day should be. What a rest day is not is a 3-mile run. I keep seeing people posting things or talking about like, oh, I'm going to do a recovery 3-mile run or a recovery 5K or a recovery 20-mile bike ride. You're doing a workout. That's not a rest day. Things that are actually taxing you and getting your heart rate up pretty high and adding stress to your system, I would not qualify as a recovery day or a rest day. You're just putting more stimulus onto the body, which again is okay, but that's not a rest day activity. So why do we need a rest day, you ask? Good question. Couple of reasons. One, we can't just keep pushing into things and just being go, go, go all the time. Your body needs time to kind of marinate in all the goodness that you're giving it when you're doing your training. And also consider the effect that allostatic load has on your body. So things like what kind of stresses you're dealing with emotionally in relationships, at work, mentally, socially, politically, all that goes into what your body is interpreting. Like your body will only interpret the stimuluses that you're giving it, the stimuli that you're giving it. Stress is interpreted. Stress is stress, right? Your body is going to interpret stress the same way, regardless of what kind of stress it is. So exercise is a form of stress. So is getting broken up with, or feeling lonely, or being stressed out about social events. All of those things, your body is going to have the same physiological response, regardless of whether it's a 5K run versus being upset about something at work. Stress is stress, and your body's going to interpret it that way. So when taking rest days, or when considering taking a rest day, you need to consider the allostatic load, which is essentially everything that is not like physical load, like doing reps of bicep curls and stuff like that, everything around you. So work stress, how are you eating, how are you sleeping, all that kind of stuff. That's a huge role in when you should and shouldn't take a rest day. And I think people underestimate how much mental stress can manifest itself physically and feeling depleted and stuff like that. On another level, people underestimate, I think, the effect of allostatic load and mental and social stresses and stuff like that, because they don't realize what it actually does on a hormonal and physiological level. Like cortisol levels are a big, I think buzzword when it comes to talking about stress, but that's an actual hormone and an actual component that people look at in terms of blood work and stuff when looking at stress responses in the body. Like evolutionally, is that a word? Over time, like think way back when, like caveman times, like the human body's stress response was in response to, like, you know, running from a bear or frantically searching for food or something like that. Now we're surrounded by stress constantly, all the time. And if you can't like detach yourself from that, or create environments to detach yourself from that, your body is just constantly in this state of stress, and all these like inflammatory markers and hormonal markers that are related to stress responses are constantly heightened, and your body is just in this fight or flight mode constantly, as opposed to just running from a bear or searching for food. Stepping away from the allostatic side of things and getting more into the mechanical side of things, like things that you can actually feel, like strength and how your muscles are working and performance in workouts and stuff like that. You need to take rest days quite literally, because your muscles need that time, that rest time, to restore everything that you used during that exercise bout. I'm talking about, like, I'm not going to go real sciencey in all this with you, but I'm talking about like ATP stores, glucose, glycogen, all of that stuff needs to be replenished, and it needs time for that. If you are just going all the time, on top of having a layer of allostatic stress or allostatic load, on top of working out 7 days in a row pretty intensely, like your body's literally not getting any time to restore all of that, or any time to rebuild those muscle spindles or anything like that. And layer that on top of most people are not eating enough to fuel the demands that they're placing on their body. So you have allostatic load, you have stress, you have working out constantly at a crazy level of intensity, and then you have not fueling yourself. That's just a recipe for feeling like trash. You don't have to feel like you need a rest day to take a rest day. So last week, I actually ran into this with my training. I knew schedule-wise I wasn't going to be able to do anything over the weekend, so I was planning on going Monday through Friday. Not recommended. But anyway, I started, like, I even realized, like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little crappy here. Maybe I should take a rest day. But realistically, you shouldn't have to feel like crap or feel depleted or feel like you're losing energy in order to take a rest day. Like, taking a rest day should just be part of your plan. In addition, all of the adaptations that we're looking for when we're working out aesthetically, like muscle hypertrophy, getting stronger, getting faster, all of that happens because of your recovery. And I'd argue probably during your recovery, because that's when all those little metabolites and all that, all the stuff in the blood and the chemistry is working to replenish what you have done already. So all those things that we look for when we're working out or on a fitness journey happen either because or during your recovery. And if you're a boss with your recovery, and recovery, when I say that, I'm including sleep, nutrition, stress management. If you're really good at those things and don't train like an idiot 7 days a week, you are only going to get stronger and faster and perform better when you take the rest days and when you go into those next days of working out. So during those rest days, your body is really preparing yourself to crush it the next couple of times that you work out. With that being said, when you do take your rest day, so I mentioned before that you don't need to feel like you need to take a rest day in order to take a rest day. It should be part of the plan, right? If you do take a rest day and you still feel depleted and don't feel great, then you're okay with taking another rest day. That's fine. Some of this, you need to listen to your body a little bit. Like last week, for instance, I tried to do a workout on Friday, and I just was like not into it. My body, everything felt way heavier and way more difficult. I felt super fatigued. It was just this general not feeling good feeling. I felt like depleted. Like I literally felt like I had no gas left. So I was like, I have no business being in the gym right now. So I went home and took a nap instead. And then the next day I took a rest day because I knew I still needed it. So it's okay to do that, especially if you've developed a really good habit and you have been consistent with your training and other aspects of taking care of yourself. If you're still not really sold on this, or if you're not sure, some signs that you may not be recovering well include, well, a whole host of things we don't have all day, but I'll name a couple off the top of my head here. So decreased appetite, decreased energy, not being able to focus, having trouble sleeping, getting sick really frequently, getting injured really frequently, or even just subjectively in your lifts and stuff like that, or your times and just performance objective measures, not changing a whole lot. Obviously, all of these by themselves can mean a couple different things, but as a cluster, if those are resonating with you and you haven't really taken a full, real rest day in a while, then maybe you might start thinking about that. You may still be wondering when to take rest days or how to decide to take rest days. I usually like to recommend for most people, especially if you're first starting out, anywhere from like 1 to 3, maybe even 4 rest days, depending on how new to fitness you are. And typically the easiest way to do that is to do 2 to 3 days on of working out and then time those well, obviously, right? So like don't do 3 days of really freaking hard workouts in a row. 3 days of working out, 2 to 3 days of working out, a rest day, 2 to 3 days of working out, a rest day, or 2 rest days. What I do is 2 days on, 2 days on, a rest day, and then 2 to 3 days on, depending on scheduling and how I feel. And then I have no problem taking 2 rest days at a time, which is also okay, especially if you're really putting in purposeful and intentional work on the days that you are working. Also, I want to mention that good training doesn't mean hard training all the time. Like good training encompasses everything, including your rest days. And those like low, steady state things, the days when you would get into the gym and you leave and you're like, I probably could have given it more, but I've been here for a while. You still need those. Your body is only interpreting the stimulus you're giving it. So like a workout doesn't have to be 60 minutes for it to count. If you're finding out that you need to take it easy on one day, then do that. Treat your body the way it should be treated and like you care. And so that it can continue to do the things you want it to do when you're older. Sustainability and consistency are the big words kind of like popping out in my mind right now, the big words that we talk about here at Recharge and why we tell people when to push, when to pull back. Because if you're constantly on the go and constantly stressed, constantly under eating and constantly working out like crazy, that is not sustainable at all. You are going to burn yourself out. You also, on the flip side, can't just do the boring, low intensity stuff all the time. Our bodies crave some level of intensity. So you need rest days. You need rest days because your body needs to marinate in all the good things you gave it during that training. Also consider stress on top of all of that. So if you like this video, hit subscribe and I'll see you next week.